Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Well, Ralka, I was just testing. Sometimes I get on here and people aren't listening, so I just figured if I muted myself for a while, I'd be able to see if you guys were actually listening. Good start of the year, that's right. Now I'm going to look at the Discord, people screaming at me. Okay. So, Baus, you are muted in the stream you are doing. DM says, you are muted on stream, still muted. Oh man, look what I have to deal with, man. Look what I have to deal with. Okay. That's true, Freddie Patson. All right, let me tell you a couple of the highlights, because I got to repeat just a couple things. So I just finished this class, the first class we've had where we have just a couple people in this class. It was people rated between 1,000 and 1,400. So that's like a gazillion Lichess and like, 1,700 ChessCom. And the idea is we're going to do it for 5 weeks with just 5 people. Every week somebody presents a game. We talk about it a little bit. They're also going to meet prior to our class, which is cool. That gives them a sense of the other participants get an eye on the game. They get some feedback on what was going on in the game, what were the critical moments. Very enjoyable. Hopefully we can make that a tradition and I can do it with different rating levels. And if it's very popular, obviously we can pull in David and Kostya to do it, but we can also bring in other outside coaches, right? So not something you have to do in the program, right? Just something useful. I think it's very useful, say for myself. I'm going to play a tournament in 2 weeks in Charlotte, and then after that, I'm going to start looking at those games with a coach myself. So just a way to, especially with game analysis, talk a little bit about the art of doing that. And also, we'll do it for other things depending on what people are interested in. And we have a lot of friends of the dojo, many GMs, but also lower rated players. It would be great to do some kind of class. Okay, so the first person was not a official graduate, but now we're dealing with Joe. And as I was saying, Joe has done a lot of games, but isn't logging their score. But let's take a look at Joe M here. Okay, here we go. This is a known trick, very good. And D3 is probably not the best response. DC makes a lot of sense to me. Someone's calling me on the phone, but I'm not interested. Here we have all of these moves. Wow, he really considers everything. I don't know if I've ever seen a list like this where he really goes after everything. Yeah, it's kind of strange. For example, to me, the natural moves that jump to mind are here, 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 and maybe even this weenie move, bishop e7. One thing I think is interesting, if you will, about bishop b4 as a mistake is this c3 move I think is valuable for white anyway, because he would like to get the king here maybe. And also the pawn on c3 will talk to these squares with the knight. So for example, after knight c6, it's not the dumbest move to just play c3 immediately, just to be like Baus. I don't want that knight coming in, and then someday I might play king c2, right? I might play king e2. Okay, so here we go. So one of the things with the computer messing with you is that it doesn't help you understand why castles is wrong. And the reason castles is suspect is the king might be useful in the center. It's also just making me nervous that maybe he can take the pawn. Like maybe he can't. Maybe knight e5, rook e8 loses. But still, I don't even want to think about it. And now this is a blunder. Engine says this is a blunder. Traps your bishop. Okay. Well, that's got to be a mistake, Baus. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the guy missed multiple chances to play b4 and c5 to win the business. He refused to take your pawn on e5. I don't know. I don't get it. Oh, here we go. So let me just say about this computer analysis. It's not helping you understand what's going on, say, with knight b5, right? Why does the computer see rook d6, for example? Because it wants to play e4 and then kick the knight and then put this bad boy here. So it's important to understand why the computer's saying the things it's saying. By the way, Nordovich, I don't know about we have to wait to see with this FIDE rating thing. We're going to have to figure it all out before we, it has to sit for a second, It has to run before we adjust the system. But probably by Dojo 3.0 is when the dust will have settled enough that we can move the rating sticks around. At the moment, I'm very upset by it. I haven't even actually dealt with it psychologically because I think it's going to ruin a lot of traditions. It'll ruin what ratings mean if it's as I understand it. Okay, so Joe M, good. I'm glad you're doing these games. You're going to make it, dude, if you just keep going with the games. And hopefully the feedback I gave you will help you do those game analyses. Okay, so go back again. Next up, we have JW, graduating with 92 points. That's a lot of work. And follow JW. Oh, dude, that's, it's kind of weird. But I think they're not logging their time, actually, because it would be more than 3 hours to get to those 50 points. They've also graduated before, though. Look at that. Boom. Nice. Okay. So, beautiful work here. Let's see if they have some games. We do. Okay. What I would want is to understand why knight takes c6 is controversial. And the main reason is that when we play pawn takes, we are dominating this knight, right? So we would want to put a question mark next to knight takes c6. And then we want to say what white should have done instead of queen d2, right? Bishop d3, f3, something like that. Good move. And then you talk about bishop c3, queen a5, and the other obvious move to consider, of course, is just d5. Okay. Oh, you could play castles too, but I think it's fine. Good. Good. Now, this annotation looks a little bit like a computer annotation, rook fe1. Like maybe the computer didn't like it. But if we look at the position from a human perspective, it's the most natural move you could possibly imagine, right? Okay. You're doing great. I love this move. This move is a little weird. And if you like rook b2, then you should talk about this move. And the reason you have to talk about it is rook c2, I don't know if we want that. At least we have to figure out what's happening after that. But once you see that move, then you're like, okay, Bowes, I'm done. That's all I need to see. So again, these are computer annotations here. And couldn't we have played rook takes c2 here? Well, now we do it. We're definitely winning. Right, queen e8 wins a pawn. Okay, so JW, good work. And let's look at your rating graph here. You're doing pretty good, dude. Yeah. That's great, man. Okay, so actually let's do this real quick. Let's look at this year in review thing. Oh, look at this. Take a look at your progress. There's the rating. This is a really cool thing that Jack did. And you can see the this thing is maybe my favorite. This plus the points by month. So points by category, obviously dude's been concentrating on the tactics. Points by month, you can see August, he really went for it. I don't know how he got -5 points. That would be an interesting topic. There's a top 10 tasks. Yeah, there we go. Beautiful. Okay. So we'll check a couple more of these bad boys out too. All right. So next up we have David Ham. I'm just going to read what David Ham says. And Joe M has just got here. Joe, yeah, if you ever miss this show, you can always go back and watch it. I think you just put the little slider bar on and go back and check it out. So here we go, David Ham. This was a great 3 weeks. A couple of highlights. Chapter 20 of Everyone's First Chess Workbook was tough but really rewarding. One of the things about that book that's interesting, I gave it to a bunch of kids for Christmas, people just starting out. And some of them really took to it, dude. So I'm going to make a review of that book. And it's probably like, in terms of the book where people are doing it in the dojo, That's the one where I think the most time and probably reward has been had, definitely for the under 1,000 cohort. For the first time in my chess journey, I've conquered my addiction to the computer. Having to annotate games before looking at what the computer says has been such a good development, and I have started to think on my own for the first time. My annotations are still in kindergarten, but the process has begun. I really enjoy playing the slower time controls and think that it's going to really help me improve. The community that I'm starting to build in the dojo is nothing short of amazing. There are so many supportive and like-minded people here. I'm thankful for everyone that has played with me, sparred with me, and sent words of encouragement. Starting the David's Dojo Journey vlog on Lichess to memorialize the journey has also helped me be more intentional and reflect on the growth and journey on a weekly basis. Oh, cool. Well, maybe we'll even go read some of that. The one challenge that I've faced is not being able to find enough sparring partners. I think the sparring against real people is one of the more helpful aspects of the program, so I don't think that should be changed. And I do think that I will be able to find more and more partner as my community continues to build in this amazing place. Cool. Yeah. Pepper Chess has also been in comms with David. Let's click over here. Chess Dad 1979, 44, nice, okay. Already graduated loads of times. And just popped over at 1103. Beautiful. Okay, good. Now let's do something mildly illegal. Let's click on him. And I clicked on it. Look at this, David's Dojo Journey. Oh, this is cool, dude. Look at this, David's Dojo Journey. Oh, let's click on one. This is from December 23rd. First, oh, beautiful. Oh, I'm going to highlight this, man. I'm going to highlight this one when I do the achievements. Highlight David's journey. Beautiful. Okay. So let's go back and we'll look at activity. And looks like they're probably not, David's probably not putting the time in, which is okay. And is definitely like crushing it in terms of how fast he's going through the cohorts. Let's take a look at ChessDad here. Oh, this is very good. I can just optically see this is very good annotations. So ChessDad is white. Boom. Now, what's interesting is this move would be okay if the bishop were on b4. But now, dude is just going to lose a pawn. Now, clearly black didn't think about what was going on here. And we can just see, like, oh, they thought for 2 minutes on this move. But basically, they needed to try this. And this is an interesting position because at first glance, it might seem like black is doing great. But actually, white's doing great. Yeah, it's not something that, if you've never seen this position before, you'll immediately get. This pawn will soon come here. We're going to push this bad boy out. Our king will probably go to h2. The rook will come to f1. And in terms of the annotation, this is, we'd want to have a sense of the eval of this position. At first it might seem, for example, that black's doing great, but actually it's not great. So, but still, in this position, that's probably the best that black can get, because now they're just toast. Because Nimzovich told me that center pawns were worth more. All right, knight b5. I think e3 looks good. Well, that isn't it, is it? ChessDad says thank you very much. Now, let me just clue you guys into a sickness that both players have here. They're playing 30 plus 30, and I just want you to see neither player is really thinking at all. Right? Thank you very much. Good move. Good move. That's spicy right there. Queen h7, Thank you very much. Good. And then dude's like, God, I'll just resign. Look at this guy resigning, dude. He hasn't used any time on El Quaco. Nothing. Nothing. Nothing at all. Okay. But that's the way it should look when we take down these players. They're not going to be thinking, especially the online ones. And I think for ChessDad, playing it, at least trying to play some over the board would really help, because the players he'll face there will actually be thinking, and ChessDad himself will also be thinking. Look at that. There's no thinking here at all. Okay. Also, just in the game analysis, you got to say, these people weren't thinking. We were playing like it was a blitz game, Jesse. We're sorry. We're sorry, Jesse. We're sorry. Okay, David, I'm looking forward to seeing you again, boss. You're going to make it to the next graduation, I'm assuming, pretty quickly. And here we have Michael. Boom. Follow. 8:55. Activity. Okay, we got some work getting done. We got some games. All right, let's take a look at a game. And actually, so this is, I think, interesting, where this trick is well known in a variety of circumstances, but now it's much worse for white because the pawn, like, let's say we just do this a little bit differently and we played f4. The pawns are interesting here because they help each other. And eventually the dream of Federico is that this guy will move. There's a variety of ways. When I say this guy, I mean the one on f4. There's a variety of ways he's going to move. And when he moves, the rook is going to be active and the bishop's going to be active. But when this goes down, oh no, this pawn is dumb. There's no point for the pawn to Federico the pawn to be there. He's just a sad dude. And so actually, it's funny, when we look at this position, it has some similarities to the one we're just looking at. And here, too, I would definitely say that black is better. And that we have a simple plan of h6, rook f8, king g8. Okay, you could probably play rook f8 immediately, too. So this happens. Good move. We should say that it's best to develop our pieces, right? Develop. This would have been much stronger. Now your knight is? Yeah, your knight's kind of annoying. I don't understand that. We should castle. We needed to take and castle. e5. At the minimum, we got to talk about this move. Is it hanging a pawn? Because it kind of looks like it's hung a pawn. Okay, f6. Okay, this is interesting. And now he does this to you. And now he blunders. Now again, when we do these annotations, we really need to talk about what we should have done and what the eval is. So for example, black's best move, he needs to stop this. Black's best move is maybe here. And then we want an evaluation of the position. And at the very least, we should see that even though black is technically winning, he still has a couple things to solve. You know, still got a couple questions to solve. Like, I'm going to maybe play here first. And as long as he can't mess with me on the F file, at least I don't have to resign just yet. Right? So, he misses the point. Good move. Very good move. Bishop e5. Good. Okay. Does anybody know if the Reassess Your Chess Silman Endgame books are the same in Chessable? I'm going to doubt it very much. Basically, what Chessable does is they take books and convert them to their format. So, you know, they want you to do a move training exercise on those. And a lot of the whole point of the Silman book is just to show you some interesting positions and have you think about it. And then many times there's more than one correct answer for the problems, and then there's vast, you know, periods of text. So I know that, for example, my bro Maurice Ashley has recently done the Reassess Your Chess book. I assume, you know, did a lot of his own takes on the positions from Silman, for example. So let's call it added value, if you will, right? So queen d8, queen g7, very good. That's Mischlaut. And Mischlaut's pretty much crushing it over here. Let's go look at their year in review real quick. Gain some points. Games and analysis. Oh, this is beautiful, man. And basically you can see that Michel just started. Nice. Oh, beautiful. Okay, so let's go back. And then click here. Luis de la Fuente. I started right in this cohort and it took me more than 2 months to catch up with all the training material. As I have a family and a full-time job, I've been playing tactics and ChessCom while commuting during weekdays and studying and playing on weekends. I'm really liking the ChessDojo system. In particular, the book selection is great. I found everyone's first chess workbook a bit too easy, but it follows a good systematic approach and the quality of writing and addition is indisputable. Polgar's problems were very useful and the Mates 2 are quite challenging. It's a pity that none of these books were commuter, not computer I think, but commuter friendly. I would have finished earlier. If there are good suggestions in this regard, please let me know. I found the win conversion exercises very helpful. I played against the computer, not as directed, I know, which was a bit frustrating at times, but very rewarding once I understood the problems of the position and best way to approach it. Okay, good. Combination of studying a lot of tactics and playing longer games has improved my calculation. I blunder less. Nice. Still need to improve my annotations. Good. Met great people. Central European time zone. Right. So this is a great story, man. I think, there are some people who are without children and are studying chess 8 hours a day. Other people are finding it a different way to make it work. And I think especially on the commute, what will really be hard is it's hard to do system 2 thinking when you're on a train with a bunch of distractions. It is possible. But it's hard to do. I think the maiden 2s are actually a good thing to do while commuting because you can have a moment of intense reflection on those bad boys and then kind of step out of it when somebody distracts you, and then go back into it. But it's hard, for example, to do things where you need a board. That's just an example of one of the things that's almost in every cohort that can be done. Okay. So, Louis, let's take a look. Greetings from Spain. Okay. Totally cool. We have 847. Nice graduation. And let's take a look. Louis is doing some good work. And we got some games. These look like online games. First 60-30. Nice. It was exhausting. I'm not used to playing chess for this long. Right. Oh, these are really good notes. One of the things I want to really stress, especially if you're in the under 1,000 cohorts, is really your mind isn't used to thinking long on chess yet. It takes a little bit. And so you'll see that your opponents are also exhausted. And if you're playing online, they'll be, frankly, distracted as well. We saw already in one of the early games that they weren't using any of their time at all. Okay, so here we go. Let's take a look. So, E3 is a mild minus because the bishop on C1 is now a problem piece. So bishop F5, bishop D3, fine. Fine. Okay. Bishop B2, knight BD2, queen E2. Yeah, okay. I like it. I like your arrows. I like the sentences here. And I really like what you're saying with H3. Now, let me just say, this is a common feature in this kind of position. Namely, you've developed all your stuff, and now you're asking yourself, well, Baus, what should I have done, right? And it often is a problem for people to figure out what to do. My own personal sense is the move c4 makes a lot of sense. Knight e5, what I think you need to recognize is that on knight e5, you do need an idea in this position. And this position might be a little bit hard for you to deal with, maybe not, but you have to come up with, say, a variation after f4, right? Okay, but maybe you can play it just this way. Good. By the way, we should also say that c6 was not the most contentious move from your opponent either. Maybe knight e4 can't be wrong, for example. Good move. And then now you play b4, aggressive. I think I'm okay with this. And then c5, maybe, maybe not. You know? What is the problem with c5? Your bishop on b2 will have another pawn in its way. And maybe because you're from Spain, I'm going to allow myself a metaphor that not everybody will understand. I know those Mediterranean guys love the backgammon, okay? So just give me a second with my backgammon analogy. When you first begin at backgammon, what you see people doing is they build these towers of power. They'll put like 5 or 6 dudes on one strip, right? And the problem with that is that will lessen their degrees of freedom, the things they're able to do from there, because they're all on that one zone, so that like if you rolled a 6 and a 2, you're going to have to move them away. You won't be able to coordinate. In a similar way with the bishop here, you've lessened the degrees of freedom for your bishop. You've also taken away a lot of the juice, let's call it, for what I thought you were doing was maybe b5. Now I get it, you want to deal with your pawn. One way would be to say, hey, let's play here, and then if they take, we'll play here, and we'll get a nice rook on the 7th if they go for it. Okay, so here we go. I don't understand rook fe1. And now he's doing great. You fixed his pawns, and I really want to stress your bishop on b2. No bueno, as they say in Spain. a4. The dude should be playing, can definitely be thinking of f4 immediately. He plays here. Good move. Now, one of the things just to see is, you know, your king is the one in trouble, right? Those pawns are evil. Good move. Good move. Good move. Oh, he's tearing you apart. Now, here's a tactical question. Now, before we look at the tactics, let me just say, it is very common that when your opponent is fooling around strategically, like white has, right? The knight on h2 is bad. The bishop on b2 is bad. These pawns look really menacing. That in those circumstances, that will be where you find the knockout. And here we have the knockout right here, baby. Boom! Rook g2. What's the Kraai threshold? What's the Kraai threshold? All right, f3, g3, knight f6. And then you really are in deep strategic trouble here. Yeah. And then here we just lost a piece. Right? And then we let this guy in, and then this happened. I guess he could have played knight e2 as well. Okay. So, Lewis, that was a good annotation, and I think a good way of thinking about how it went so bad is to think about this piece, you know, because we come out of the game, the beginning part of the game, you're doing fine. You're doing fine. But we do need to figure out something with this bishop, right? And that's the piece that ultimately ends up destroying you here. Okay, good. Let's go back and we'll look at the next one. Next up is Ricky, PBD, who has already graduated. I have a vague memory of Ricky before. Oh, Ricky, I don't know if you were there yet, Bouse. I don't know if you were there, Ricky. You got to get up to 800, buddy. Mmm. Thank you, Kraai. Thank you, Kraai. Thank you, Krabby Crab. That was a weird slip from Krabby Crab to Kraai, but you know, they are kind of similar. That's right. So one of the things we instituted for the dojo, this applies especially for the lower cohorts, is we want people to use half of their time. And that's just a way for them to slow down. That's all it is. You know, that's all it is. So we say that if you didn't use their time, you can't really count it as one of your points towards, you know, the dojo points. Okay, Krabby Crab, thank you for that. Let's look at Ricky here. Ricky needs to ungraduate himself. Not there yet. Not there. But let's take a look. We'll look at a game of Ricky's here. Okay, part of the dojo. Nice. There's nothing wrong with this. Okay, so notice, actually, one of the things I want to say about loss of time is it's general or often due to fear. So the first thing I will say is I believe that white played e3 because they were afraid of losing the pawn. They don't need to be, but I think they were. So, and now black plays a6. And what's the problem with e3? Blocking the bishop. What's the problem with a6? It's just a clear loss of time. And then as he notes, there's really nothing to be afraid of. Bishop b5. Waste of time. Good note. b3. Notice that now that white played e3, they're going to have to play b3 to get the bishop out. Okay. And what I want him to say, actually, in this note is I want him to say, Krai's going to yell at me because I'm moving a developed piece twice. That's what I want him to say. That's the reason knight e4 isn't great. I knew that c4 was a bad move. It stopped defending the bishop on d3, but I got hung up on preventing c5, allowing white a massive center. Okay. Right. So he missed the knight takes f2. This is a very common trick in this kind of position. By the way, with variations, I think that's all you need to do. Because as long as white doesn't have anything dramatic here, we're done with the variation. We can say either we believe that black is clearly better, or we can say, hey, it's over. Okay. Good. So notice, gaining time. Now you're just hanging a pawn, boss. I guess you were hanging it last time, too. I don't like f5. I don't understand why we did it. That's unnecessary. Notice that with d5, it's a loss of time for them to be playing this way. And now you have maybe a shot at surviving this thing. Okay. I think we can criticize f3. He wants to play e4 next. I get it. Rook h6, you know, it might not even be that bad. I don't know if white should be playing f4. Another thing just to note, though, is b5 with the intention of pushing c4. That's not the dumbest thing. I think queen d6 makes more sense, right? Because you can't be having this pawn pushed down on your bows. Oh, no. Right. Why did you do queen d6, queen f6? Because you were going for this trick. It's just a trick. But as mommy says, tricks are just for kids. And passed pawns, well, they're for grown dudes. Right there, as you can see. Okay, Ricky, congratulations, bows. And let's do the next graduate. Matt Pierce says, I haven't had a great deal of time in this cohort, but I started by doing the maiden ones and some maiden twos. Didn't have a great deal of time to analyze games before graduating, but I'm looking forward to getting started with that in the next cohort. What I found extremely useful was the explanation of tempo. This single piece of advice rocketed my rating from sub 1400 to 16 over the past 2 weeks. Arguably, understanding tempo was a missing piece of my current understanding, thus I'm really looking forward to the next level. Great. And what's cool about that is I kind of talked about it before, but the path to get to 1000 is really stopping to drop your pieces. And then after that, it's the slow awareness of how important tempo is. Right? You can become aware of how important tempo is below 1000. It's just your games won't be decided on that. You'll be decided by someone hanging pieces. But now, time will become the major feature where people will just be giving you time, as we've seen again and again. Okay, Matt made it. Let's follow Matt. Adult chess improver, brilliant. And they're doing some good work to get to 1,000, 1,100 right there, my friends. Lots of games and analysis. Let's look at one of those games. No, Matt, what are you talking about, Bows? Where's my games? Where's my games at, Matt? Huh. So yeah, basically dude has been playing a lot of games. Okay. Well, right, we hope to see Matt soon. All right. Next up, we have CJ. I literally just joined and was very close to the threshold when I was placed in this cohort. That said, I found it really beneficial to play longer games and break them down. I didn't go through all of the tasks at this level because it was such a short stay, but after talking with some of the others on Discord, I was convinced to level up instead of waiting longer to graduate. Good, my friend, yeah. You were probably where you were supposed to be here. Let's take a look. Yeah, you did it the honest way, too. You just went up, graduated, and that's a nice looking graph right there. Good. Let's follow CJ over here. Activity. Doing some good work. Okay. And they graduated. This is how they got there. And doing a lot of endgame. Let's click on them. Brilliant. Okay, doing the Silman book. And then we got some games and analysis. Good. Yeah. Let's see if we got a game or two from CJ. We do. What do we got? 10 games. That's the work getting done, CJ. There it is, my friend. Okay, first time playing the Sicilian. He's done a course. You guys know that I don't want you doing the course. Okay. All right. H6. Bishop H4. Bishop B4. And now we get a long variation with this knight takes C6 move. Now, one thing that I would want to say about Bishop B4 is you have to be super careful not to lose this dark square bishop. That doesn't mean Bishop B4 is a bad move, but we need to be sensitive to the fact that if we lose this bishop, our dark squares become really hard to deal with, right? Dude says, give me those dark squares. I don't know. I don't know about this. I like taking pawns, but this might be a bit much. And now Queen A5. Now, if this move doesn't work, we can obviously talk about G5 followed by knight takes E4. But I think this is great. And we could have played queen takes C3, right? Seems better. So a lot of these things I think deserve question marks, right? So Bishop F6. And actually, look, we have the timestamp here. Look at my friends. My friends, this guy's not thinking at all. He's not there. Oh, Krabby Crab's going to get on him. Krabby Crab's going to be like, biting him. Fighting him from below. You must use half of your time. BBL click hello. So in this position, black didn't think about it at all and could have played queen takes c3. And that's controversial because you're getting set up to get smacked by knight e5. Thank you very much. And I just want to stress, black is not thinking at all here, my friends. There's zero thinking happening here. And white is also not thinking. Look at that. White's not thinking at all, my friends. Look at that. Nothing. Nothing. Now, let me just say, when your opponent moves so fast, they're going to be playing terrible moves. But they will also be freaking you out a little bit in their moving so fast, right? And you will be then tempted to also move fast. Kind of like the kid at the tournament who's yelling at his opponent and says, move, move, right? Here too, it might seem like rook h7 is obvious, but rook g8, definitely a more active square. That isn't it. Now he's just losing time. Good. Good. Oh yeah, just thank you very much. That isn't it. Check to the miserable king. All roads lead to mate. Very nice. That's what he deserves. That's what he deserves, buddy. You didn't develop your pieces. You came to the dojo. You didn't know what to do. That's what it's going to look like. Welcome to the dojo. That's right, my friends. It's going to be a long year, Charlie. That's right, buddy. So CJ, buddy, you're doing great, man. You're doing good. Okay, so now we continue. And we got Kostya. My favorite part of this cohort's training plan was the collection of Morpheus games. Tactics time as well as its sequel were also fantastic. Okay, let's look at Kostya. Just made it. Great. Good dojo progress. I love to see it. We got some activity. And let's go back 40 hours to get there, my friends. That's some good work. Lots of tactics. We're probably not going to see any games here. And learn chess the right way, number 3. Tactics time. Puzzle survival. Puzzle rush. Good. So let's click if we got a game. No games. So Kostya, we just need to see some games, bows. We need to see some games. Okay. What are they done dojo doing? Some tactics and chess media. Okay. So next up, we have PDX. I think PDX is like Portland, I think. Let's see what we got. Probably not time to graduate. I'm a retired guy living in Portland. Am I good? Am I good? I'm pretty good, then. I'm pretty good. But I think he just got here and then, leveled up. Sometimes that happens. Okay. Boop, boop. Now we got Bastos. All my ratings are above what is needed to graduate. I wanted to wait for a more stable rating, especially in classical, but saw in Discord that we should graduate first and then see if it's too much or no. It's my first month in the dojo, and even if I couldn't keep up with my training during the holidays, it was really nice to have a boost to do tactics and games and longer games. Ah, beautiful. Right, I would say, right, like you can imagine just clipping over the line, and until you feel like you're kind of settled there. That could be 10 games, that could be 5 games, but you want to wait just a second. So look at this, buddy. You're way up there. You definitely need to level up, Baus. Hey, Bastos. Hey, Bastos. Look at that. You're way up here, buddy. You're way up here. Now, your FIDE isn't, and maybe that's kind of what you're using. But Your Lichess is crushing it, dude. Okay. It's cool that we have a lot of Germans and we have just a couple French people. David's in France right now, in the north, dude, in this rainy, unstopping raining hell. He's brought his kids to live there for a year. Dude, the Normandy, it's like England. Maybe England with slightly better food, you know? Oh, buddy. But this guy's doing great. And I guess, might be kind of complicated for him in terms of graduations because this one's so much higher than his FIDE. Okay, let's click over here. We're getting some good work getting done. And we got a lot of middle games and strategy. Nice. That was a Silman endgame. And then here's tactics. Good. A couple mates in 2. Nice. And then we have games and analysis. Let's see if we can get one. We got a bunch. Xenox. Now, I kind of want to click on this one because it feels like maybe that was or this one was a over-the-board game. Dude, if David could leave for St. Louis, I wouldn't be so dumb. Maybe he'd just bring the family and go live in St. Louis. He could sell his house in Berkeley, dude. God knows he could buy a couple houses in St. Louis with that. So, C5. This is a known mistake to play C5. And I think the one way that sometimes confuses people is on knight d2, blowing up the center with c5 is a reasonable move because the knight is placed in a funny way. But after this, we're just, white's development is too fast. Now, that said, I think dc5 is controversial because now we could have popped the knight with d4, right? So in general, what they advise you to do here as white is either play knight f3 first or ed and bishop b5. And then castles, you're up into development and time, and it's just a rough business for black, who's going to be down a tempo because they've made 3 pawn moves and you've made 2 tempi. He began a tempo down, but he lost another one, is what I'm trying to say with the pawn move. And there's going to be the weaknesses, especially with the d5 pawn. Okay, so you missed your chance with d4. Now he wins a pawn. Check to the miserable. Good move. Good move. Now you have compensation because you have better development. Good. That isn't it. Cheap threats, my friend. Cheap threats. Now, here's an important point. We've talked about this some. Castling, once the queens have come off, don't need to necessarily do it. Okay? So castling long would keep the center king in the center. Right? That's why we don't necessarily want to castle once the queens have come off. The king might have a role to play by guarding some of these squares. This one also comes with tempo. This is what we call moving a developed piece twice, knight b5. Now, notice with a6, I think what you're doing there is you found the knight annoying, but actually the knight's a chump. He's on some kind of fool's errand over there and would like to come back to the center. Here I want you to play rook fe8, but this looks pretty good too, doesn't it? Well, that's definitely passive. Here's where I thought a lot, like 20 minutes. I thought that fighting for e2 and c2 could be a good idea, but was not really convinced, but I could not find a plan. I kind of set a trap for bishop e3, which could be seen as a good move, but I thought it would be a mistake because of rook e3, fe, knight c2. Okay. Yeah. I think this is an interesting position. Pepper Chess, thank you for gifting these subs. In the sense that, to my mind, it's like a good example of what compensation for a pawn could look like. And I'm certain that this position could be analyzed at length. I think in addition to knight d4, another move that I'm curious about is what is going on this move, for example. This kind of thing. I have questions. The party in a lot of ways is just starting. So these are the kinds of things we could look at in this variation. Okay, so knight d4. And I like your trick with bishop e3. I think that's a good trick. Here is his trick. He's going to take and then body slam him like this and regain the pawn with the better position. I don't understand that. At this point, I thought a lot, but I was unable to find a plan at all. Right. So, let me just stress, there might be some idea to b5 that I don't see, but it doesn't actually do anything. Okay? So, a way to just continue improving your position would be to play f5, take away the knight square, and intend king f7. Right? That could be a thought for us. I think they need to consider bishop e3 pretty quickly here. Oh, loss of time. So, let me say it again. At this level, they're going to give you time, right? And h3 is unnecessary because there's a variety of other ways to defend the pawn. The pawn in itself, I don't think is even threatened because of g3, right? So h3 looks like you're playing for tricks. He talks about opportunity for a draw. And now he goes for this draw. Here I want to see more work on how the game might have progressed, right? One thing I want to stress is if you had made a different move than b5 and we had done something to get our king free, then I think we would have a little bit more freedom in thinking about what to do here. I'm just looking at this fine position. Maybe you should take a draw in this position. So, I would like to believe that you still have reasonable compensation here. And the move f5 comes to mind here, the way to continue the game. Okay, so, Bastos. Dude, you're definitely, let's just say it's a little weird that you're way up here. Maybe a good way for you to do it would, play enough of the FIDE or the French league games to find out where you are here, because you're way up here with elite chess. Okay, so that was Bastos. Oh, I just saw Sage is going to graduate for this week. This week, by the way, we're going to do it on Thursday, normal time. This is, again, the makeup session for the Christmas that we were all, or not some of us, were out. And Mango Cat says, see below. What does that mean, Mango Cat? Let's go look at Mango Cat. Mango Cat has graduated quite a bit. I guess made it and then fell off. That's one of the reasons sometimes people wait a little bit. What's going on, Mango Cat? You got all these graduations. So that's what Mango Cat did to make it. And let's see if we get some games. Oh, we got loads of games. I feel like Mango Cat said see below, and the Boomer Jam was supposed to see something, but then didn't see it. You know what I'm saying? This game was played yesterday. What? Okay. This is the first game of 2024 I've looked at. I like these notes, by the way. Very simple, but much more interesting than telling me, like, this is the theoretical move or something. So H3 is controversial. What did we want to see? We wanted to see castles. A little weird. Castles is more normal. Castles is more normal. Yeah. So let's just be clear. Why is it funky? Because it's not developing. You know, that knight's already free. And now you're going to be sent home. And now your bishop's going to be mocked. Mocked. Okay. Yeah, you have to play bishop b3. Knight h5. And then, I guess, yeah, you got to play knight e4. You're going all in, obviously, after knight e4. I assume you're still losing. But you got to do it, I guess. Thank you very much. And now this is what we call a yard sale. This is a yard sale, yeah. Everything's hanging. Now, Mango Cat, can I just say something here, buddy? You're not using your time. Look at this. You're playing some dude as well who is just playing as if this is a blitz game. What are we doing, my friends? What are we doing? Now, one thing I guess I want to say about it is you've all seen it enough that you know it's like a little bit of a disease, right? It's like this online disease of moving too fast. And in a lot of ways, it's one of the easiest things to improve at. Your opponents just aren't thinking, and it's time to start wasting them because they're not thinking, right? I'm glad you got your bishop there. Hopefully our queen isn't trapped. And now it's going to get mopped up here. Now bishops are a hell of a drug. Okay. So we're assuming black won this fine game. You didn't give up. No way. Mango Cat, let me just state the obvious. Your path to improvement is very simple. It involves this, using your time. Using your time. And let's go back to that knight b5, for example. And we'll just look at how much you use there. Both sides have basically used 0 time. Your opponent is blitzing out the moves. Not the best moves, by the way. Bishop d7 and e6. Dude should be castling. And when you use the engine, it kind of confuses the issue a little bit. Because what we want is you to get experience in this position and have a feel for it. So, for example, let's say castles. Queen e1. And we're going to play for a plan like this. Here, 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 and mate. That's one of the reasons, actually, I don't want to play bishop d2. I don't feel a need to. Because I really want to land it on h6. Right? But, so 2 things. In the analysis, try to evaluate positions like this. This is, by the way, a setup we often see in the aggressive repertoire for white. The ChessDojo aggressive repertoire that we did on Chessable. But also, when you go over your games, you want to have a sense. You want to develop a sense because you'll get this kind of setup again. It's a great, beautiful attacking setup. And one of the things to understand is the main pawn break is not e5. It is f5. because that's the dream of Federico, to open up the rook, to open up the bishop. Okay, good, Mango Cat. I know I'm missing something because Mango Cat said see below, and I don't know. Maybe somebody can help me out with what Mango Cat means over there. Oh, I got the wrong week. That's going to be for this Thursday. And there's Mango Cat. Meads of Asphodel says, happy to graduate pretty fast as I was a bit underrated. Love the program and I'm happy with the new challenge in another cohort. Here the hard work really begins. I can see a very motivating values of Dojo. Good. All right, let's check out Meads of Asphodel. Goose Chest, thank you for the sub. And Meads of Asphodel made it. Let's see how they made it. 15 hours of work. Good macro distribution, right? Let's see if we got some games. We do. Alejandro Sheck. Always happy to see this move. Right, and the reason is because the queen is often terrible on d4, but if it can't be harassed, we'll definitely have to say it was a developing move. Good, we could talk about other moves too. Okay. Okay, so he missed queen f6. And now black plays this because they're worried. And then this is a mistake. And then why is knight e5 a mistake? Because it's moving a developed piece twice. King e2, good move. Actually, let me just stress, I like it a lot with king e2. So many players here would have played something like castles short, right? King will be useful in the center. f3 I don't like. I don't understand the point. Probably we need to make a move like rook b1 or bishop e3 intending f4. Oh, I didn't like it. Why are we giving up our most beautiful piece? And did c5 make sense? No, didn't make any sense. So again, this is the danger of using the computer. Maybe bishop e6 was best, but you gotta say why, right? You gotta say why. I like the bishop d5 move. Interesting, at least. Fancy. Okay, so the computer is telling you bishop b3 is a mistake, but you got to tell us why, right? For example, maybe c4. And if that's the right move, you should try to examine like why you didn't like it, or maybe you missed it, something like that. And then to give us an eval. I think you played bishop b3 because you were obsessed with your tricks on g8, right? That's pretty clever, dude. That's pretty clever. We're going to give you massive props for that, though. Look at that. Boom, boom, boom. Beautiful. Boom, boom, boom. Beautiful. Now, again, the computer's slaying you here, Baus, when it says king g6 inaccuracy. You're totally in charge. You're going to win this game. King g6 is by all means at least the move where black feels like they're doing something, right? Now, this one's interesting. It's technically winning, but there's a couple problems you're facing here. One, first of all, from a human perspective, it's going to be much harder with the king here than when it's cut off on f8. I don't know why the computer would want that. Right? For one, when you make a pass pawn this way, the king will gain activity. Also, you know, the other thing you're up is a mess over here. So I don't understand that move. Rook d6 would be more normal. Good. Uh-oh. And now we really lose our mind here. And now, honestly, you gotta, if it's equal, we're gonna say you were lucky. We're lucky it's equal, Baus. We're lucky. Yeah. So, let's go back a second. Something to appreciate is that black isn't doing anything here. And a move like a4 would be really annoying, because now we have this threat in addition to this rook a6 threat, right? So this lets the king back in. And then here, I don't know, you're thinking you were doing something really fancy. After, we definitely want to analyze this position after rook a5, though, because, well, if you're better, it's going to be a hard road. In particular, how are you going to make meaningful progress in this position? It seems like you're going to have to play g3, f4, you know, but it's not, you have, if anything, just a nominal advantage. Yeah, and now we're just going to putz around, huh? Okay. Okay, meets Vasfidel. Well, there we go. So in the 14 to 15, and hopefully that was helpful in thinking about what was going on in the game. I think being able to convert that rook endgame, the thing that's going to happen is you're going to need to go through games like you just did and spend a couple hours either by yourself or with somebody else just looking at that rook endgame, playing it out a little bit, imagining the other ways it could have gone. And Abdul, absolutely, there's loads of other opportunities that Meads had in that position. Okay. Next up, who do we got? On wrist, this might be, I don't know what's going on. It's too complicated. He's fallen down to 0. What happened, on wrist? What happened, Baus? This account is closed. Ooh. Now, sometimes that means it was closed for cheating. I don't know. Well, all right, let's go back. So, next up we have Zach the Guy. I am familiar with Zach. He's graduated before. As I said in the previous grad message, I've really slacked on keeping my chess activity updated, but I intend to change that. I had been working with a coach for a while, but now I'm sticking with the dojo's plans. Thankfully, I have a very open schedule for the month, so I should be able to get on track. All right, boom. Beautiful. It looked like, this is when he was sleeping well, and that's when he wasn't sleeping well. Sleeping well wasn't sleeping well. But now to new heights, Zach the Guy has climbed. Now let's take a look, see how he got there. Well, that's pretty good work, dude. Pretty good. Maybe no games? No games. I remember this about Zach the Guy. But definitely doing the work. Look at that. Doing evaluate like a GM. Beautiful. Look at that. That's the real work right there. Okay. So, Zach the Guy, you know what we need. We need to see a game from you, Baus. We need to see a game. Okay. So, one more, and that's Paul here. Maybe a performative graduation. But let's read. I'm an adult prover, started chess 2020, age of 35, based in Japan, also play shogi casually. Beautiful, okay. I don't know where in Japan Paul is, but he should be playing chess latte, dude. because they're, I think, even in the same cohort. So they might be able to get together. Well, this is great, man. Shogi Wars, 4Dan. Nice, okay. Well, let's look. Hasn't done, I think might have just gotten here. That's what I'm gonna, oh no, we got some games here. Okay, so in this game, he's gonna be black. It's an old-time variation. Yeah. I actually had, with the position on Queen D2, this same position quite a bit, or the similar dynamic. And the question that he's asking himself is, am I afraid of Bishop F6? And the answer should be no. It is a little scary, though, right? And so, it's something that you need to kind of feel good about. And there's two ways of doing it. GF6 is fine, but more dynamic is this question. And in particular, we want to ask, well, how do we feel about this situation, right? My sense is that we have full compensation in this position. But again, we would have to feel good about it, right? Yeah. We'd also actually probably be able to convince ourselves that that's a playable position as well. And so now A6, maybe not terrible, but now, if dude was going to do the Bishop F6 thing here, then this would be the moment to do it, right? So notice what his reasoning is. He's like, well, if I have to take back with a G-pawn, then I don't want a castle, right? But your king is going to have grief if you don't castle. Now, white plays queen G3. I think the variation with knight takes C, Bishop F6 is more interesting. Has to be now. And now, here our problem is we can't avoid the exchange of queens. So we cannot play Bishop F6. And then in this position, it's a little bit, can we say, squirrely for black here, right? Queen G3, in fact, maybe even stronger. Just saying that, we're not going to give you anything. So white goes that way. I'm not sure I like it. E5. Ooh, did it have to be bows? Now, I think what happened is he's still concerned with the attack on D6, but let us stress something. When we castle, and if he goes for it, we're going to now give it to him. We're going to say, bows, you can have it, but I'm going to get this counterplay. And this thing is angry. Okay, so E5, F4. Have I lost my mind? I think I've lost my mind. Something has happened with the notation. Something is wrong. Amris got Kramnik, yep. What's happening here with this E5, Knight H5 thing? I don't understand this at all. There's some real non-comprendo here. Maybe the Knight takes C6 thing happened before. So let's just imagine that the following went down like this. Knight takes, pawn takes, and F4. Okay. What should white do? He should say, hey, bows, I am going to play on this square, and the first thing I'm going to consider is knight e2, followed by control of the d file. I will then also consider knight f5, right? These are some of my options. Okay, f4. And now we're just doing great. Now, I love black's position here. There still might be some work to do. But I love it because our king should be better, our knight should be better, and the pawn on c6 should be controlling the knight on c3. I don't like this one. Maybe you can do it. I don't like it though. I don't like it. And knight a4 especially seems to really talk to that c5 squares in ways I did not want to be talked to. I think we could go pop, excuse me. Well, maybe this isn't so easy either, honestly. We'll go here. We're going to play king e7 next. Well, it's still kind of a game. I'd rather be black. So this all goes down. We get whacked. Well, this is something we got to talk about here. Why isn't white winning the pawn on a6? And he says bishop a6, snick, snock, snook, sneak. I was afraid of this move. Oh, excuse me, here. But party's still going here. Party's still happening here. Right? Because knight f2, at the minimum, we have rook e1. Right? Okay, so as we've seen in a variety of games, is when we get to this phase of the game, people often stop their annotations. This is because they were potentially exhausted during the game, and also don't realize how tricky these positions are. For my sensibility, for example, I would want to spend a lot of time on this variation and try to imagine if black has any path at survival. Intuitively, the answer is no. There is no path to survival here. But we could definitely play it out. If black achieved a5 someday, maybe there could be survival, but white's going to play, I think, put the clamp down immediately here. So I think it's gone. But, you know, I would spend some time here. Instead, we're getting this business where we're not examining a lot of very interesting and important things. What's interesting here is that white's not understanding that the knight was much better than the bishop. This is still obviously doing great, but rook a5 was, no, it's fine. f5, I don't understand f5. We should talk about rook d4. A lot of different moves here being, okay, yeah, so right, people weren't considering their stuff. So Paul, check it out, Mouse. You need to hang out with Chess Latte, and what he would do for you is he would sit there and be like, Baus, explain to me this endgame move. And so, you know, there's a lot of positions in there. First, in the opening, you're going to get that again if you want to play that variation of Sicilian. Next, we have that whole endgame thing, and I just want to stress for everybody listening, if you analyze your endgames, that's how you will become good at the endgame, right? And you can see his opponent was also playing superficial moves, not thinking about, like, well, what exactly is going on here? Okay, so, my friends, let's leave it there. I will be back on Thursday to do more, namely the normal Thursday show.